The book of Numbers gets its name from the contents of its first 4 chapters. The first 4 chapters are a record of Moses conducting a census of the people, which led to a long list of numbers. The Hebrew name for the book of Numbers is Bamidbar, which means in the wilderness. Chapter 6 discusses rules regarding the Nazarites. The Nazarites were a group of people who were set apart from others and were devoted to special service to God. They followed special rules such as don't cut your hair, don't eat grapes or drink wine, and don't touch dead things. Some famous Nazarites in the Bible include Samuel and Samson. The oldest manuscript of the scriptures that exists today is a small section of Numbers 6. This section is the priestly blessing that Moses commanded Aaron to give to the people. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. 2 years, 2 months, and 20 days after leaving Egypt, the Israelites left Sinai. The cloud of smoke lifted up from the tabernacle and went ahead of the Israelites, and they followed it with the Ark of the Covenant carried in the front. And they traveled for 3 days before the cloud stopped. But Israel complained about their hardships within earshot of God, and fire from the Lord began to consume the outskirts of the camp, and the people cried out to Moses. And Moses prayed, and the fire died down. The people named that place Taberah, which means burning. Later, the people also complained about God's manna, the bread from heaven he gave to them, and they said they wanted the food that they claimed they had back in Egypt. And God got angry, and Moses got worried. And Moses complained to God about the people, saying, "Did I give them birth?" And Moses asked God to give the people meat. And God said that he would give them so much meat that it would come out their nostrils, and they would loathe it. But Moses questioned God's ability to provide the meat. And God said, "Is the arm of the Lord too short?" Halfway through the story, 2 guys start prophesying, and Joshua tries to stop them, but Moses tells Joshua not to be jealous. Later, God sent a wind to drive in flocks of quail from the sea, and the people began to gorge themselves on the quail. But God became angry with them and sent a plague upon them, and some of the people died from it. They named the place Kibroth Hattaavah, which means graves of craving. Later, Aaron and Miriam badmouthed Moses because he had married a Cushite woman. They also pointed out that God had spoken through them as well, and not just Moses, and the text says the Lord heard them. Here the text also says that Moses was a very humble man, more humble than anyone else on the face of the earth. And so God told Moses to go get his brother and sister, and he appeared to them in the cloud and vindicated Moses. God made a distinction between Moses and other prophets, saying that he spoke to other prophets through dreams and visions, but he spoke with Moses face to face. When the cloud lifted, Miriam had leprosy. Aaron begged Moses for forgiveness, and Moses begged God to heal Miriam. God told them that she would be unclean and have to stay outside the camp for 7 days before she could come back. After this, Israel traveled to the desert of Paran, and Moses sent out 12 spies from each of the 12 tribes to go explore the land of Canaan, including Caleb of Judah and Joshua of Ephraim. And the spies explored the land and spied on its people for 40 days. At the end of their mission, they took a cluster of grapes back with them that was so big that 2 men had to carry it on a pole. All the spies agreed that the land was good, and Caleb said they should go up and enter it. But the other spies disagreed and told the people that the land was filled with giants and that they would all be killed if they tried to go there. They compared themselves to grasshoppers, and they even said that the Nephilim from Genesis 6 lived in the land. The people said they would be better off dead in the desert than entering Canaan, and they wanted to replace Moses with a new leader. Joshua and Caleb tried to get everyone to calm down, but the people wanted to stone them. But then the glory of the Lord suddenly appeared, and God again told Moses he would kill all the people in his anger, and to make Moses into a great nation instead, saying, "How long will they refuse to believe in me in spite of all the signs I have performed among them?" But Moses again interceded for the people to turn away God's wrath, saying, "What will the Egyptians say when they hear?" So God decided not to kill the people, but said that none of the people of that generation who had rebelled against him these 10 times would ever enter the promised land, except for Joshua and Caleb. And God sentenced the Israelites to wander in the desert for 40 years until every last person who had seen his miracles in Egypt had died. The people wept when they heard this, and they decided to go up into the land anyway. But Moses warned them not to do so, because God would not go with them. But the people went up anyway without Moses, and they were defeated by the Canaanites and Amalekites. Now, sometime later, Moses' first cousin, a Levite named Korah, along with 3 Reubenites, led 250 council members in a rebellion and confronted Moses and Aaron, claiming they had just as much right to be priests as Aaron did. And Moses is like, "Be content with the special role God already gave you." But they're like, "Moses is a slave master, and it's Moses' fault that we're not in the promised land yet." And they tried to make their own offerings to God, and Moses got angry and told God not to accept them. And God told Moses and Aaron to get out of the way so that he could wipe out all of Israel. But Moses says, "Please don't destroy the innocent with the guilty." And Moses declared a test for the people to see who was Israel's true leader, saying, "If these men die a natural death, then you'll know that I am not. But if the earth opens its mouth and swallows them up, then you will know they were not." And as Moses was speaking, the ground split open, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed the rebels, and they went down into Sheol alive. The other Israelites panicked and moved out of the way, thinking they would also fall into Sheol. And fire also came out from the Lord and consumed the 250 men offering incense. And God told Moses to use the gold from the censers of the dead men to cover the altar, so the people wouldn't forget what had happened. But the very next day, the people surrounded Moses and accused him of killing the Lord's people. And suddenly the glory of the Lord came down in smoke and began slaughtering the people. Moses had Aaron grab his censer and quickly go out and offer atonement for the people. And the text says he stood between the living and the dead, and the plague stopped. 14,700 people died from the plague, in addition to the people who had died in Korah's rebellion. And so God proposed a test for the Israelites to prove to them who the rightful priest was. Moses asked each of the leaders of the 12 tribes to give him a staff with the name of their leader written on it. And God told Moses to put the 12 staffs in front of the Ark of the Covenant, and say to Israel that the man whose staff sprouted was the man he had chosen. In the morning, Aaron's staff had not only sprouted, but it also budded, blossomed, and produced almonds. And so God told Moses to put Aaron's staff in front of the ark as a sign to Israel, warning them not to rebel. This story ends with the Israelites convinced that God is going to kill them all, which is funny because they apparently only decided this after seeing Aaron's staff blossom and not after seeing all of the terrible ways God had already punished them for their rebellion. But don't worry, we'll get to hear them rebel some more next time when we go through the second half of the book of Numbers.